everything that was messy and broken in the room was my bio daughter's fault.
Mm-hmm.
And since the father was responsible for that, he was telling my daughter to clean everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is Cinderella.
You're listening to the Nacho Kids podcast, where we discuss all things step-family related. Real stories, real people, real help. Your hosts are the creators of the Nacho Kids Method and the Nacho Kids Academy Step Family Coaching Team, Lori and David Sims.
Top of the morning to you.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all will have to excuse David's morning voice.
It's my Barry White voice. Actually, it's not too bad.
Like we literally woke up 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, because we live this nacho life. Like, get up and do it.
Yeah. Now, don't matter how bad you sound, just do it. Right?
That's right.
David's over there drinking coffee. He'll be making gulping noises.
I know. Coffee, man.
Drive me insane.
Coffee's going to save my life. I read an article of all the health benefits of coffee. So while you're old with dementia and aching bones, I'll still be running around like a whippersnapper.
You ain't running around like a whippersnapper now.
I need to drink more coffee.
All right. What do we want to talk about today? Oh, let's talk about something that I noticed yesterday when I went to get tires put on my car.
Okay.
There is a sticker on the back of my car that says Zombie Apocalypse Response Unit in bright green. I didn't put it there.
How did I get there?
Well, David apparently did it because he has a Jeep that he has turned into some kind of zombie apocalypse machine. I felt like an idiot. How long have I been riding around with that on my car, David?
Since the day I got the stickers in. It's about 2 weeks.
Okay, that goes to show you that I don't look at the back of my car very often.
And just for the record, I had help.
My sweet baby boy.
I ain't gonna say. Just say I got help.
Well, the funny thing is, I would not have even seen it yesterday if I had not went to look for the little lock bolt thing or whatever for your tires.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was in my trunk. And then I opened my trunk and there's all kind of clothes. I'm like, oh crap, I hope it's not in here. And then I shut the trunk and I'm like, oh my gosh. Y'all, I'm not into the zombie apocalypse crap. Bright green.
I wonder how long it'd take you to see it. You know, I mentioned that, gosh, maybe 2 podcasts ago. I said something about, we did something and you don't know it yet.
That might have been during a podcast recording. I don't remember. But I'm not very happy with this. I think this may turn into a war.
You remember the video of the girl who had her husband's car like wrapped?
Yes, they're in England. I love them. I think it's like Lad Baby or something like that. They torture each other all the time.
Yeah, but I'm sure they make money doing it.
Oh, I'm sure.
We're not making money doing it, so don't torture me too bad. Just being married to you is enough.
So if anybody would like to give me some suggestions on ways to get David back, please email me at lori@nachokids.com. Because really, I'm like, I have been riding around with this stupid sticker on my car.
And it's, just to clarify as well, it's on your back glass, so it's not like on the bumper.
Oh, and I couldn't even see it through my rearview mirror.
That's why I put it on the back glass.
Why would you think I would want that on my car?
Hilarious. I didn't think you'd want it on the car. That's why I put it there.
Lord help my soul.
Hey, it's better than what I really, really wanted to do. I really wanted to take the sticker that was like 2 foot in diameter and put it on your hood.
Yeah, you would have died. I would have seen that one fairly quickly.
Oh, yeah, you would have seen that. Everybody would have seen that one.
I just don't get your button pushing.
What do you mean button pushing? That was a practical joke that I did to spend time with your son. It was
Oh.
bonding.
But see, now I'm going to be like, my sweet baby boy put that on there.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't take it off. Maybe I should
Honestly-
ride around and look like an idiot.
Honestly, I'm going to say this low because he's in the next room. But honestly, he's the one that came up with the idea.
No, he didn't.
He did.
No.
He said, we should put that on my mom's car. And I was like, that's a fantastic idea, Jackson.
He is pretty smart.
So it was just a bonding moment with me and the stepson. So there you go, guys. You want to have bonding moments with your stepkids? Just torture the wife.
Okay, I got to quit thinking of my paybacks. How do I get it off my car?
You have to have one of those little razor blade scrapers.
No. You and sweet baby boy can do that.
Not my car. Not my car, not my problem.
It's not nacho kids, nacho problem. It's nacho kids, nacho responsibility. Get it right.
Not my car, not my responsibility. How about that?
Well, you should have kept your hands off other people's cars.
Well, I didn't touch your car.
I think you should do that to your dad.
Oh, he'd never see it.
I know.
He'd see you put it on there and be like, I don't know what he's doing.
You could do like UFO hunter.
Yeah.
Professional UFO hunter. Anyway, okay. Let's talk about our guest today.
All right.
Our guest today is Deborah.
Hello, Deborah.
She has been blending almost a year and a half. They dated for 5 years. 2 bio kids, bio son 9, bio daughter 7, 3 step kids, stepdaughter 27, stepdaughter 11, and stepdaughter 9.
Wow.
She's from your favorite place in the world, David.
My favorite place in the world?
Your dream place.
What's that?
Brazil.
No, it ain't Brazil that I like. It's the women from Brazil.
Okay, we're not going there. Kids got along great in the beginning. Surprise!
Yeah, that happens to us all.
Stepmom came in, super stepmom with her cape on. And guess what?
What happened? Somebody had kryptonite.
She got burnt out. The cape began to strangle her.
Somebody was stepping on it.
The good thing is she gets along with Biomom fairly well. In fact, she encourages Biomom to stand up to her husband. Not to Biomom's husband, Biomom's ex-husband.
So her current husband.
Stepmom's current husband.
Right. Mm-hmm. She gangs up on him.
No. She's not involved in the ganging up. She's just encourages.
She is involved. She's indirectly involved. This poor guy has 2 women.
Oh, no, not this poor guy. He's a control freak.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
That's why he's a control freak. Because these 2 women are badgering him all the time.
No, I'm telling you, she's not badgering him.
Okay.
She's just telling.
Did you interview him?
No.
All right, then. You got one side of the story. Come on, man.
I read something about
all
this
you men out there shout out. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Them women badger us.
Well, if men wasn't afraid to get on the podcast. Yeah, I said it. I said it, y'all.
Look, we have men on the podcast. We had one a couple weeks ago.
You don't count.
I'm talking about Hector.
Oh, we haven't released that one yet.
Okay, but still.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We have some few awesome men. So yeah, men, you want to defend yourself?
I think I'll just interview the men by myself.
This is my podcast. Not your podcast, David.
I still got to
get your own.
I am. I'm going to start the Button Pushers podcast.
Well, I'm getting ready to buy buttonpushers.com. I am. Y'all think I'm kidding. David won't get it for me, so I will find some other IT company. One that helps me with my issues.
Got more issues than the IT company can fix.
Oh, aren't we funny this morning?
Yeah. Coffee's kicking in.
Uh-huh. All right.
Then you ready to get listening?
Yeah, but I think that we should mention the stepmom view.
Okay.
The Stepmom View is a collaboration of 5 step family experts answering the most challenging step family questions. Check it out.
Yeah. Go to stepmomview.com. Check it out. There's 26 questions, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And how many hours of video content?
13.
Oh my gosh.
And I will guarantee you will learn a lot and you will laugh a lot because it is video and you can see our faces.
Yeah, and Lori don't hide facial expressions.
No, I don't. That's why I have long hair to cover my face up.
Yep. So go check that out, stepmomview.com. Now, let's get on to our interview with Deborah.
But first,
here's a word about the Nacho Kids Academy.
There is a way to save your sanity and your relationship, and it's called the Nacho Kids Academy. In the Nacho Kids Academy, you will learn the skills and knowledge to properly nacho, techniques to handle step family challenges, ways to improve your communication, and much, much more. Visit NachoKidsAcademy.com and sign up today to join other step parents who are seeing the life-changing benefits of nachoing. Again, that's NachoKidsAcademy.com.
Today we have stepmom Deborah. Hey, Deborah, how are you?
Good. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your blend. How long have you been blending?
We've been blending married for 16 months.
Oh, not long.
Yeah, no, married now, but we have a relationship. We were about since dating, right? Like 4 years.
All right. So do you have any hours kids, bio kids, or just step kids?
Yeah, so I have 2 bio kids, a boy, a 9-year-old boy, and about to be 7-year-old girl. Her birthday is coming.
Okay.
My husband has 3 bio kids. So I have 3 step kids. But one is a 27-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
She's grown up and she's gone. So she's not in the blend. And we have a 11-year-old. He has an 11-year-old girl and a 9-year-old girl, the same age as my boy. I'm his bio son. So they kind of like step twins.
Yeah. So he had all girls.
He had all girls, yes.
Wow. A 27-year-old and an 11-year-old?
Yes, but they are different moms. He had a first marriage when he was from 19, I think, for about 27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his first marriage. And then he got a divorce. And then he met his girl's mom a couple of years later. And they were married for 11 years. And they also got a divorce.
Okay.
So had this big gap.
Yes, big gap. So tell us a little bit about your blend. When you met, how did the kids get along? Things of that nature.
I am from overseas. I'm from Brazil. So I moved to here, to United States, to be with my mom. So my mom would help me with my kids and everything. And then when I met my husband, we started dating. We did everything like the protocol says. We waited like a month before we introduced the kids.
Mm-hmm.
When we introduced the kids, they like each other like straight away. They were like super good. So, and then we started having dates always with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it was great. We were always doing lots of fun things. And so like everybody, I guess, all the blended family, we thought that, oh, that's meant to be. The kids get along just fine. There were like some bickering and some fights if we stayed too long together, but they were doing good. The whole thing were good. I used to spend, because at the time when I moved to the United States, I wanted to change careers to do something different here.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school. I wasn't working or anything, so I went to school. So I had the summers off. So that was like, for me, it was like, oh, opportunity to be with my stepkids, right? It wasn't at the time. I was like the girlfriend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my kids to be together. So I spent summers with them, and it was like great. We didn't have much issues, which was a big change after we got married.
Did it change instantly after you got married, or did you see some of the changes happening slowly?
It was instantly. It was something, first of all, I had to do, even with my husband. It was instantly I was studying at the time, so I knew what was about to happen. Because they say the grieving moment, like they have to grieve, to go into grief, and that happened in my house, like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. My dear husband went on a depression. My stepkids were all very. It was suffering. You knew they were suffering because they starting to do things that they didn't used to. They were like super happy kids. Didn't have a clue what was going on, I guess. And then after we got married, and we tried to have a unity, and things started to backfire. The more I tried to make it united, more it backfired. I remember one of the big issues, for example, we live in a 4-bedroom house,
mm-hmm.
and we have four kids, right? And us. So there are only 3 rooms. So what we are going to do? So either his girls used to have the rooms for themselves. They all had their own room, and there was a guest room in the house. And then we didn't know what to do about rooms. And my husband wanted to get his girls to share one of the bedrooms, and my kids to share another bedroom. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that, because I was thinking that I could separate the boy, because my son and my daughter already shared a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be an opportunity to separate them, right? And then so we instead of forcing, and I knew they wouldn't let go of their room that easy, right? The girls.
Right.
And I was like, let's just, because buying a new house was out of the picture. We had no money for that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be ideal, right?
Right.
But we couldn't do that. So I remember we dropped it at the kids. We said, so what are we going to do about rooms? And at that time, the 11-year-old wanted to share a room with my son because they really got along, because they like video games. And she's 11 and he is 9,
mm-hmm.
but they are the ones that play together because they share the same kind of like affinities of things they like.
Uh-huh.
And the 9-year-old girl and my daughter, 7-year-old girl, about to be 7, they really get along. They play with Barbies, they play with dolls. So immediately they wanted to do this. And we were like, okay, so let's do that. So I started buying the bunkie beds. And then my stepdaughter's mom, we talked to her about it, what we were planning to do, because she's been asking, well, how are you guys going to do the room arrangements and stuff? And then we have a good relationship with her. So we talked to her and we said, we're going to do the 11-year-old and the 9-year-old boy in the room. And it's like, I don't think that's a good idea. He's a boy, she's a girl. And at the time I was like, oh, bummer. I felt, but that sounds so good, because I was very naive about anything that could possibly happen. They're kids and never seen anything, and I'm always on top of them. But then I was thinking, no, she's right. Let's separate them, because the other girls didn't want to separate; they wanted to share, and we're like, okay. So I made the whole room. So I changed the rooms a little bit. So I got my site, broke the guest room, which was a big thing for my husband. It really didn't wanted to let go of the guest room,
mm-hmm.
but nobody goes there. But I think he was like, in the back of his mind, that was where his adult daughter used to go when she visited.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So for me, it was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to put my kid to sleep in the couch, because he was taking forever to do it. I was like, well, I need to get my son a room.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this guest room, and his adult daughter had decorated a little bit the guest room and everything, but she wasn't here, right? She wasn't living with us anymore. I was like, well, we need to put this apart and start making a boy room. And he was like, And then he tried to convince his 11-year-old daughter to go to the guest room, because for him was like, but we're going to give this guest, because the guest room is an en-suite with a bathroom. It's a better bathroom. So he's trying to convince his 11-year-old to go to the guest room, but she doesn't want it. She didn't want to. She wanted to stay in her room. She grew up there, right? She's like, no, Dad, I don't want that. Give it to my brother, right? To my stepbrother.
Mm-hmm.
She was all okay about that. And he was like, delaying. It was very hard for me to, little by little, I started putting things, starting decorating. I put a bunk bed there too. Changed because there used to be a queen bed.
Mm-hmm.
So took the queen bed off, started putting boys' pictures and blah, blah, blah. I made a boy room, and he was not happy about it. But he didn't really say anything. You just see, right? The other person like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went along that for the first year we were married. So the girls shared their room. And I started having a lot of issues with my stepdaughter and my bio daughter sharing the same room. They were very happy about it. But my stepdaughters, they never really had any expectations about keeping the room clean, things organized. And I was very strict about that.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like a sign of neglecting them if I wasn't there cleaning their room and folding their clothes and make sure they had organized and clean and nice environment to be.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was always doing that. I didn't see that as me like invading the privacy, right? At first I was like, no, I'm doing something good, for them.
Uh-huh.
So I put all of this load on me, and we have like every other week routine. So in the beginning, the every other routine for the first year, we are adapting. So I noticed that the suffering from the step kids on this grieving because of the questions, because of my step kid used to be acting out towards me, like blaming me for realizing that mom and dad wouldn't be together anymore. Mm-hmm. She even talked to me about it. We really had a good relationship while they were dating, because they saw me as this cool babysitter and dad's girlfriend. Because we always did everything fun, right? So I was like connected to fun,
right?
And then so she started to just be very mean to me. To be honest, I think she was blaming that I wasn't going back. She would ask me, when are you going back to Brazil? Because in her mind, I was there on vacation. I was going to go.
Yes.
It's like, well, we're married now, I had to explain, no, I'm never leaving. And she's like, oh, okay. All right.
She's like, crap.
Exactly. And okay, so then little by little, so there was this grieving on part of my husband. This is a marriage situation, right? Me and my husband had to deal with. And the kids suffering in the room. And one of the conflicts, it started. The first one was the room thing, the room issue. So every week they came over. My daughter is super excited, right? She kept asking me, how many days to the girls to come here? How many days to the girls come here? And I started to feel like, in the beginning it was fun. I wanted them there. But then little by little, I was like, oh my God, 5 days. I think I'm having panic attacks about them coming back.
Yes.
Because I had to deal with all of this. And what ended up happening with the rooms was I got overwhelmed of cleaning every Friday when they left. The mess is starting to be like astronomical. Mm-hmm. Like I remember telling my husband, she's destroying her room. And I remember I made some beautiful decorations. I made it like a girly room because she didn't have that, because everything was torn apart. And she started tearing apart everything I got, and to the point that she would start breaking my daughter's stuff. This is not your territory. And then I caught them saying very mean things to my kids, and it was very stressing because they're kids, right? And they're mean and they're suffering. So she was being mean to me. She was being extremely mean to my 7-year-old. So they start fighting a lot. And my 7-year-old, she was little. She was still a lot of problems communicating. Mm-hmm. So she sorts out to emotion outbursts a lot, so she would like just overreact to things. So they got ugly fights. And I was like, there's something wrong with my daughter, but she couldn't communicate. She would say, but this is unfair. Because what was asking during their week, because as I got overwhelmed of cleaning their room, I couldn't keep up. I started asking my husband to step in without knowing that or anything. I just asked him to I didn't back up. I just needed another help. I need a maid or somebody to help me with this room, because she breaks everything and I don't want my daughter to sleep in a room like this.
Right.
The 11-year-old, it was easier for me to let go, because it was her room. There was not my daughter's things there,
Right. They weren't sharing a room.
Yeah. So I let her go earlier, like, okay, it's your room. I'm not going to mind anything. I'm not going to come here and fold your clothes or see if there's any food. You do that. And then I started telling her that about it. So he started dealing with the 11-year-old. But I was still there, very active with the other girls, right? In the other girls' room, because mothers know, right? No kid want to clean their room. So it's a constant work, like all the time on top of the kids. Oh, you go play here, you put it this back, blah, 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 blah. My stepdaughter was like, oh my God, this lady is annoying. I cannot have my fun moment. She comes to her house and they were super excited about it because their mom moved. And their dad stayed in their house where they grew up. So they love their house,
Right.
And I'll come to this woman and she wants everything. Nobody ever teach me how to organize anything. This Brazilian lady is telling me to all the time, I cannot have express myself the way I want it, right? Now I see like this. But the problem was my daughter. And I started putting my husband more active, more like, how can I say, participating more. So I say, she needs to clean her room. But what happens is like he couldn't keep up with. He wasn't going. He's not like a mom. He's not paying attention. He would go like at the end of the day, please clean your room. You got to clean your room right now. He was very harsh.
Right.
Well, he would say, Deborah really wants this room clean. And I was like, oh my God, that makes no sense. It has to be us.
Right.
No, like you're putting that on me. But and then he made her do it, which got even worse. And I was like, oh my God. And so it got to the point that I couldn't do it anymore. And it was getting very hard for my little one because she also messed the room up too, right? Of course, she's a kid. And she was the one in the up cleaning because her stepsister is older. So it's Bart. She started putting a lot of blame on her. Everything that was messy and broken in the room was my bio daughter's fault. And since the father was responsible for that, he was telling my daughter to clean everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is Cinderella. My daughter's living, and my daughter was freaking out. And she was starting to get aggressive because nobody would understand and empathize with her pain. No, this stepdaughter never cleaned her room. And my daughter had to do it myself every Friday. So then I was like, okay. And then I had to talk to my daughter and said, I'm going to move you downstairs to sleep with your brother. And little by little, I started taking my daughter out of that room. Right. And now I put them back together. So my daughter's now sharing a room. It's much more peaceful for me and for my stepdaughter too. And her dad still tell her to clean her room, but it's like, he doesn't go there to check. So it's horrible. I just close the door and I'm like, okay, keep your room, stay. But it makes me feel bad because I have 2 stepkids that come every other weekend to a house where they have their rooms for themselves, while my kids that live there 100% of the time share a room in the basement, right? Because the guest room was in the basement.
So your stepkids come every other week or every other weekend?
Every other week.
Okay. Yeah, so they're there 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And have their own room, and then your kids have to share a room, and they're there all the time.
All the time, yeah. It makes them feel like we don't belong here. I don't know if it's that my mind. My kids, to be honest, my daughter, she's very happy about it. She doesn't have to go there in that mess and clean. So she's okay about it. Maybe deep inside, I never had this conversation with my kids. It's just, do you mind? No, I never talk about this. I just explained to them what was going on. Maybe sometimes in the future, it will change. I always tell them things are never what they are forever. Things are fluid. They always change.
Yeah. You said that about you don't know if it bothers your kids as much as it bothers you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it bothers us more than it bothers our kids. And we make a big deal out of it when the kids are actually okay with things.
Yes, that's true.
But I'm sure if you ask them, would you rather be upstairs and have your own room? More than likely they'd say yes.
Yeah. But they don't worry about it and overthink about it and are not suffering about it. I don't think so.
Right. And that's important. It would be different if they were coming to you saying, we feel like outcasts.
Yes.
And things like that. I remember with my son, a lot of times the brothers, as we would call them, would leave him out of stuff. Like if we went to Wendy's, the brothers would go pile up in a booth. Well, there's only enough room for 4 people. So my son would just be standing there, and it broke my heart.
Yeah.
But my son didn't care. He was used to sitting with me.
Yeah.
Normally it was just me and him. So it wasn't that big of a deal for him to sit with me and David. But to me, it was, y'all are leaving my baby out, and he's standing there looking confused. And it just ripped my heart out. It really did.
Yeah.
But then I had to step back and say, wait a minute. This is bothering me more than it is him.
Uh-huh.
And I used to always tell him, if something's bothering you, you know you can talk to me about it.
I have this with my kids too. I always tell them that too.
Yeah, because we don't want to project our feelings onto them.
Yeah.
Because the next thing you know, they'll be like, oh, yeah, we're outcasts. We live in a basement.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even want them to hear that, because they never really thought about that. This is mine. This comes from me.
Mm-hmm.
I never said anything. I just observe to see how is it good, but they don't mind.
Yeah. I do think it's funny that you mentioned that your husband was trying to convince his daughter to take the room with the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Because I can see it from his standpoint. She's a girl. This is where she's lived forever. It would be better for her to have that. But at the same time, it's almost, again, putting his kids before yours.
Yes.
So there's always this conflict or this dilemma, we'll say, of how do you make things equal and fair?
Yes. Yeah. And also his other daughter too, right? Because probably in his mind, we never talked about this, right? But I'm imagining probably in his mind, his adult daughter, when visiting, would much more likely be welcome and okay to sharing the room with her half-sister in a girly environment than with the stepbrother, that she doesn't really have much contact with, right? She's more distant from the step because she's not there.
Right. Yeah, she hasn't built a bond with them.
Yes. And so she wouldn't feel that excluded, but now she is completely out of the house. And I never really realized that, in my mind, I was like, I just need a room for my kid.
Yeah. It's hard for us to put ourselves in the other person's shoes sometimes.
Yeah.
And I remember when David's kids moved out, I'm thinking, okay, great. We're going to get the upstairs cleaned out. We're going to make the rooms this, and this. Well, it seemed like forever before David got up here to do anything. And in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll just go up there and clean it out.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you don't want a step parent cleaning out the stepkid stuff because I may have thrown away something that was important to them and didn't realize it. So I never did come up here to clean things out. And David finally did it, but I didn't realize that part of it is hard for them because they are cleaning out their kids' rooms and realizing their kids aren't going to live here again.
Yeah, it's painful for them. They're going through the whole process of grief, right?
Yes, like you said, there's grief when you got married to your husband. There's grief with even the losing a room sometimes.
Yeah. But that takes a while for you to realize, put yourself apart from what your bio kids feel, what's they're feeling, not to mess it up, understand, put yourself in the other person's shoes, be emphatic of the whole situation and be okay that it won't be fair and there will be a lot of pain and suffering. So the broom was the biggest eye-opening for me that, there's something not really working out. And it's funny because little by little things start to pop up. So that was one thing. And another issue was chores, right? Mm-hmm. Because kids were very young. So and me and my husband, we were like, okay, we need to start getting them to do things.
Right.
Yeah, let's help because I was doing everything. And then I started feeling like they expect, even my kids, right? They were treating me like a maid. Mm-hmm. Not only my stepkids.
Yeah.
I wanted some unity. So, and then we come up, I had many different kinds of shorts. I used to be a teacher, right? So, and I was, we're going to use reward. My husband's very authoritarian. So I tried to open his mind of stop being authoritarian. I hate that you yell at your girls like they're soldiers. I hated that. So I didn't want to end of that with my kids. And so I started doing all of these reward shorts and system that they never heard of. And they were always overly compensated by their dad because it was a completely different style of parenting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started putting these chores with reward, but they really never really, my kids were very excited about it because they were used to being motivated and into that kind of reward system, right? Chores. That's why I've been always trying to, like I did in the classroom, right? So my kids were like more responsive to it. But the step kids now, they were like, no, I don't need. I remember I started giving them. I would say, okay, I'll compensate with you guys. I'm gonna take you guys to the Dollar Tree, and then you guys can pick it because they love the Dollar Tree. We can pick anything that you want at the dollar store. And then my kids were like, woohoo, excited about it. I remember this. I gave them each $1. My step kid comes with her wallet and she gets like a 20. Okay, guys, what do you want to buy it for you? I was like, why are you running? Where did you get money? And she's like, my dad gave me last week. I was like, oh my, he gave it $20?
Yeah.
I was like, what? He's really. So I was like, no, this is not working. And it started all the conflict too, because what happened? I had this chore that the kids had to do, help me with the dishes, normal things, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else? Let me see. Help with the dishes, help with the pets. We have chickens, we have dogs. So keep the room clean. So everybody has this chore. I got everybody involved, right?
Right.
But while little by little, I noticed that my stepkids, they were getting away a lot with the chores, and my kids were doing everything because I would go to my stepdaughter and would remind her, oh, the dog needs water. And she would like, okay. And the dog would be thirsty the whole day, right? But then I would come to my son and say, I feel sorry for the dog, and I cannot do it because they need to do it. I would go to my son and say, can you go get the dog water? And my son cannot say no to me, right?
Right. He knows better, right?
He knows better. Or he cannot just say, oh, yeah, there will be a consequence to him because I have to punish and whatever or reward either way. And it really affects him. I use not punishing, but reward. And my stepkids didn't care about the rewards. They didn't care about getting him a check or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what was happening was my kids were overwhelmed because the weeks they were there, they had to do like, I would say 80% of the chores. The weeks they were not there, they had to do 100% of the chores. So there was like totally unequal. So my kids started to rebel against me.
Yes.
It was horrible. It was painful for me because they were like, no, I don't want to do it. And I didn't know how to solve all of the tantrums and all the meltdowns. And I was like, oh, there's something not working here. And then I talked to my husband and say, this is not working. This is not working. And my husband tended to be getting his stepkids to do it too, because my kids listen. His didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I also put a lot of pressure on my kids because he would get home. You go do it, especially the boy, right? Because he was raised in the old model, so he was like always on top of my boy. And my boy was like, "Oh my God!" I never raised him different, like generally different from his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, why do I have to do everything? And these girls are just lazy watching TV, and I'm here doing yard work. And like, he was like, "No, this is not fair." And I was, yeah, that's not fair. And I started getting very angry, and then had a very hard conversation with my husband because he is very hard to talk to due to a lot of issues. So I was like, so it took a long time for me to actually make him realize and see that was unfair. And so we got to it, but the chores needed to be done. And we are not going to hire a maid. So we were like, what do we do? And then we started having the chores split on weeks. So my kids would do everything when the girls were at the other house with their mom. And they would come home and they would be responsible for all the chores when they were at home. So my kids would literally watching TV while they would be doing the work. And my husband was okay with it. This is not going to happen. I think in my mind, this is not going to work. But anyway, he's like, no, if they come to me and they faint and they say anything, I'll tell them they have to do. So we've been doing that. What I ended up with was I had to step away from chores because they won't do it with me. Nothing gets done. My kids see it. So on the weeks that they're not there, my kids doesn't want to do it because they never do it. So I am struggling with the chore thing. Because my husband, he does step, but he feels guilty. He doesn't want, he agreed on the separating the chores and everything, but he knows that his daughters are going through a hard time doing something they're not used to. He's taking it very, how can I say? He doesn't know what to do about it, and then I just let him do it. And I told him, I said, I'm okay if they don't do. You can do it, as long as you get home and you do it. But he hates that, he thinks that I should do it because I am at home, so I should be doing. But at the same time, he doesn't want me to do it, and he wants the girls to learn. And then he starts suffering because this started to open his mind to the fact that we are not the family he expected.
Mm-hmm.
To his daughters, why can't I make them? Because he's like, you have to make them. If they don't want to do it, you just go and yell at them. The way he parents, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not this person. I'm not going to yell at anybody.
Well, the thing is, I'm sure that he does have some disappointment about the family not being like a nuclear family.
Yeah.
But you know this. It's not your responsibility to change his kids. It's his.
No, I tried and nothing happens. And I'm been telling, I can't do it. It's not working. And then he's, no, you need to be more consistent. It's like, no, it's different. And so he's at this moment trying to realize that, well, yeah, not because I don't want to, it's going to be like we hear from all the stepmoms. You dedicate your life and you kind of traumatize those kids.
Right.
Try making them do the way you want. When they grow up, they are not going to carry much.
Yeah, because what would happen is if you started yelling at his kids or demanding they do chores and were constantly on them, you need to do this and you need to do that, even if you weren't yelling, they would eventually not want to come there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he would blame that on you.
Yeah. True. I told him that it can't be like they come here and they are on vacation, but it can't be that they come here and they have to do everything that they've never done before. I think we need to take some time and let things go slowly, because I think that was our biggest problem. We wanted everybody in this unit family because he saw things like, even with the other mom, in the other house, he completely ignores her. But that was a problem they had in their relationship before, and then I started to realize that later. He always ignored completely what she does in her house. He is that ex-husband that he calls her and tell her exactly how she's going to do in her house. She's not going to do it. But he thinks he is doing, and I was like, can you stop controlling so many situations? I was like, you don't have two wives. You have only one, me. She's your ex. Leave her alone.
Yes.
Sometimes she comes to pick up the kids and she goes inside and she waits because he always has the girls to do something when she comes to pick them up. And I look at her, why don't you go? Go home. Leave him. No, don't wait. And she's, no, I have to wait. So she let him control this. And I was like, my goodness.
Yeah. And, that's disrespectful to her.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if he has something that he wants them to do and he knows that she's coming at, say, 6:00 at night, then he needs to tell them to do it at 5:00 or 5:30 so they're done by the time she comes. It's not right for her to sit there. And he's lucky that she doesn't cause issues with that, because a lot of people could actually decide, you're interfering with my parenting time by not having them ready, and I'm going to take you to court.
Yes. No, she is almost like a doormat, and she makes things worse. She's getting better, but
probably from your coaching.
But he is a very difficult person, and then I learned that since day one. It was, oh my God, I need to have my boundaries very strong with this man.
Mm-hmm.
He has this control issue. He has a control issue. Exactly this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a person that has no boundaries, right?
Right.
You're going to walk over by him.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot, because also what happens in our relationship too is that she depends on him too much, let him rule too much. And it kind of gets overwhelming to us because, for example, she wants to be with her kids, so she takes them, but she doesn't have time to do much of extracurricular activities or even school.
Mm-hmm.
She can handle much very well, but she values that time with the kids at home with her. But that means, for example, my husband wants all the kids doing sports. My kids are always in sport and we are very active and we love it. His ex, no, she doesn't like doing that, but he completely ignores the fact that she's different, that she doesn't want to raise their kids like this. He does, because he's controlling. So he's like, no, they are going to do it. And so when I was in the beginning of the relationship, I always talk to my husband, right? I have a very good relationship with her, but I need to talk to my husband, right? I'm not going to talk to her. So I was talking to my husband and he was like, no, sign the girls too. So I would sign my kids to sport, which makes sense for me, right? I'm signing my kids to sport. It makes it easier for me to take everybody together. I always try to put the schedules connected. So take control of it. But we are doing a schedule of every other week. So the other house has a very big influence on our house.
Right.
It's not like I'm going to sign you up this and then next Wednesday, who's going to take them? So I got so overwhelmed to me because what I was doing was I was being with my step kids over the other parents' time.
Oh.
Yeah, because I had to take them to gymnastics, for example. So I would go take the kids to gymnastics on Thursday. So when they're out with their mom, they basically they would go to school, daycare, and go to mom. Mom would pick them up in daycare at 6. While I was with my kids full time, right at home. So makes much more sense not to pay their care on the day they have gymnastics, right?
Right.
So they go to Deborah. So, and then I would have them full time with me on Thursday. That made things like if gymnastics got a little too late, they would spend the night with me. They were all over all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was, no, this is no, I end up super overwhelmed and having to be responsible for all the reaction from my stepkids. So they didn't want to do that, and my husband didn't really see them and didn't want to accept that. They didn't want to be that kind of person. My 11-year-old stepdaughter, she takes a lot after her mom. She doesn't like to do any of these activities. And I was the one doing it. And I started seeing her suffering, gosh, she likes to paint and draw. And her dad's forcing her to do these sports. And I am the one responsible taking it,
Right.
So, and then I stepped back from that. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And then he was always blaming the mom, thinking, oh, no, she has a problem. She needs to step in. I think like people are different,
Right.
And it's part of who they are. They are part of you, so they're gonna have a little bit of sport experience, but they won't have it with their mom, and that's okay. But for him, no. I think if she was she was dead, for him it would be easier.
Right.
That's how he thinks.
A lot of times, for instance, with us, David's kids wanted to do karate, but the weeks that they were with their mom, she wouldn't take them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, if I remember correctly, David went and got them several times to take them. But then she got upset that he was taking them on her time.
Yeah.
And in my court papers, it states that I am not to make plans for my child during his father's visitation. Now, granted, my son, I have him all the time except every other weekend, but a lot of the extracurricular activities still had activities on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember one time his dad said, I want him to sign him up for basketball at the church near where I live. Well, it would have been during my time. And I was like, that's fine. I asked Jackson if he wanted to go, and he did.
Uh-huh.
So we did that. But then Jackson didn't want to do it anymore.
Uh-huh.
And if the child does not want to do it, there's no sense in making them. You're making them miserable. Yeah. You're making yourself miserable.
I remember I mentioned you about the domestic violence issue that we have, because this mom, she came to me and she said, I'm afraid of my husband.
Mm-hmm.
When we were married, because I had no idea of that, When I met my dear husband, I thought he was like one of those stories that the wife cheated on him and left.
Right.
That was it for me. I never saw anything different until I started having to deal with these issues and seeing the way he treated her and how controlling he is. So now I was like, oh my God, I got into a situation that it's way, way worse than what I thought. And I had to get a lot of preparation. And she told me that she left because of emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a completely different situation, and I was like, oh my goodness, if she was in that shoes, anyone can be, because this is an issue with my husband,
right?
That he needs to work on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it became a marriage issue with us, which he is, thank God, working
on his self-growth?
My husband is a military, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was deployed twice, and it affects them psychologically. So he's working towards to get his PTSD assessments and stuff like this, and really work on himself to become a better person, right? And face those issues, because for him, he wasn't being abusive or anything to her,
Right.
He doesn't really see it like this. So so he had to walk through a whole path of realizing, acknowledging, and now he is into the process of changing.
That's good. That's good that that he's seeking that help.
He is, and that's why we're together. And it's not gonna be like tomorrow, It's gonna be years and years, and a lot of hard work on my part and on everybody's in this family, and all the stresses of the blended family makes those things worse. We live so many stresses.
Right.
That when you have your own personal issues, gosh, sometimes it's even impossible, right? I've heard people telling me, like, it's going to be, she thinks, his ex thinks, she tells me, I don't know how you're going to make this. This is not going to work. And I told her, well, I made a vow, and I see that as long as the other person is walking towards their growth and their change, I don't see a problem. As long as if everything is safe and I keep myself safe and everything's safe,
right.
I'm on. I'm hard. I'm on. I'm not going to jump off the ship.
It would be different if he was abusive towards you.
Yes.
And
it would.
Some people think that abuse is black and white. It's not.
No. It's not.
I've got a friend that her and her boyfriend, they cuss at each other all the time.
Yeah.
That's not abuse to them. To me, if David talked to me like that, I would consider it abusive.
Yes.
Like I said, it's not black and white. Now, let me ask you this, though. If he hollers at your kids to do something, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel terrible. In the beginning, I thought when I saw him having the kid, he's been so strict. And everybody always told me that I wasn't very consistent with my kids. And that's why they misbehave, because my kids are a daredevil. They are like I thought I would never have a boyfriend because of my kid.
Mm-hmm.
They are difficult kids, ADHD, hyperactive, unruly, like my mother says. And my husband, I remember when I married him with this military thing, for me was like, oh, good, somebody's going to save me. He's going to be here. He's going to yell at my kids and they're going to listen, because I don't yell. I do the reward thing, And then they start listening to him because they were scared of him, right? At first I thought it was no respect, but it wasn't. They were freaked. They were afraid of him.
Right.
And then I started to realize, no, I don't want this. But I was already there in that marriage, and then I started talking to my husband. So it's now me telling him, no, please don't yell at my kids. They're suffering. They don't like that. And he's like, well, I don't know how to do it different. And I'm like, okay, so now it's another thing that you need to go and work on yourself. I want you to change this parenting, not only for my kids, but for all the kids, because it's not really working, like when you have it's been proved that the authoritarian parents is like, you get the fear out of them, but that doesn't mean that they are learning anything.
Right. And my mom was like that.
Yeah.
Now, she'd also tear your tail up, too, because that was back in the day where you could beat your kid with whatever, and it was no big deal.
Yeah.
But
I know. I was like this.
Yeah. Was your husband, was he raised with really strict parents, or do you think it's just the military?
No, he was raised like this. He had his butt wiped.
Okay.
And the yelling, too. The yelling also was something ingrained in the family.
Yes. And, I have to make a conscious effort to not be like my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I'm not perfect. A lot of times my mom comes out at me and my son will look at me like I'm crazy, because he knows that I didn't appreciate her raising me the way she did, as far as the yelling and the screaming at you.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, though. You said something about your husband. He wants to be in control. But he'll tell his kids to do chores, but he doesn't follow up.
No, because he knows it's painful when he wants the control. So he prefers to turn a blind eye,
Yes.
Because he also has the guilt parenting in him,
Mm-hmm.
which is not that bad in him, which I am very surprised, because he doesn't really, I think the control is so much greater on him that doesn't let the guilt parent come in,
Hey, that's probably true.
Yeah.
When your need for control outweighs your guilty parent syndrome, that's not really a bad thing because you could have it the other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a lady that we interviewed, I think it was yesterday, and she referred to having the mom's eye. Like, moms see things that dads don't.
Yeah. Stepmoms see a lot on their stepkids.
Yes.
Parents.
Oh, well, stepmoms with their stepkids have like binoculars, telescopes, microscopes, everything. I mean, we can see anything that child's thinking about doing wrong.
Yeah.
But even as having the mom's eye, I really like when she said that because I know a lot of times parents will tell their kids to do something. And it's the mom that notices it's not done, not the dad.
Yeah.
And is it because the mom's the heavy in the house or the disciplinarian? Or is it just women are more detail oriented?
Yeah. I am not this kind of woman, which is kind of like for my marriage. JJ, this is my symptom. I am unattentive. My husband says that I have Alzheimer's. So it's very hard to live with me too. I know it's hard. It's funny, but it's hard. Yeah. And I'm not very consistent. So if I am seeing something, it's because it's not really getting done,
Yes.
I only catch what the things I do every day. For example, the chores, I notice that it gets undone because I am there in charge of that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not very attentive, which which helps in my relationship. Imagine if I was like this and my husband's like this control freak. So that would be too much for the kids.
Yeah. It's funny you said that. My son and David both, they're like, you don't listen. And I'm like, yes, I do. Well, I asked my son yesterday, he's wanting to go somewhere this evening. And I said, did the guy ever respond to you? And I never heard him respond, or I thought he said no. Well, like 30 minutes later, I said, Jackson, did the guy ever respond to you? He's like, I already told you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. He said, yes, I did. And Jackson and I, we cut up a lot. And he comes and he holds my face and he says, the guy said yes. And then a little bit later, it was probably 30 minutes later, he walks in the kitchen and I said, Jackson, did that guy ever respond to you? You should have seen the look on his face. And I'm like, I'm kidding. But a lot of times I will ask him, I'll say, did you do your homework? And then I don't pay attention. So I don't know what he said. I know I asked.
Yeah.
But then it's like, what did he say to me? I don't know. So I ask again and he's like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so you got some inattentive in yourself too, just like me.
Mm-hmm.
I am exactly like this.
And David's the same way. So we have a lot of fun. I told him we're going to start recording every conversation we have. Because one of us is, you didn't tell me that. And the others, yeah, I did. We don't know. We really don't know.
So, okay, that's good that you're both like this. So I don't know if it's easier to navigate, but my husband, he knows everything and he's very attention oriented. He says that it's because he was trained to be. And I am like totally, he says, unruled. And it's so funny because all of the control issues, I catch him talking to other people up with her. And he mentions me like I am out of all of his control. And he gives up. He said, I cannot control this one. This one does whatever she wants.
There you go. And that's not a bad thing.
That's why we're together.
Yeah. He's met his match.
Yeah, it's very good that he knows that he is not controlling me here.
Mm-hmm. So is your husband nachoing your kids now?
No, he doesn't. He's still struggling with it, but I have started introducing him to it through the effects, because what happens? I try to talk about it. No, he for him is like me. If I mention that, he doesn't understand. He really blames me. He puts a lot of mom guilt on me, on my stepkids, because for him it's so twisted up in his mind, because he thought he would marry me and I would take over the mom role.
Yes.
Mom.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom guilt and the mom responsibility and sacrifice for my stepkids, In his mind, I have to sacrifice my life for my stepkids, for everybody equally. And he is like that. He treats my kids equally. He doesn't see a difference, there is a difference, but he fights with himself because he feels bad about it.
Right.
And I remember once I was very angry at him and I told him, I don't love them the same. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
For him, it was like the house broke down, like, how come you say that? But I don't feel it, and I don't feel good about it. And I'm okay to express myself, but not anymore after your reaction.
Yeah.
I should hide this now, right?
It's like we always say, you teach people how to respond to you.
Yes, exactly. How you react.
Yes.
And he does. He is the breadwinner now, right? Because I am I'm not anymore. Finally got a job. Woohoo!
Woohoo.
This is part of my natural plan. Yeah. Because what happened when I got married? Since I was a foreigner, until you get your documents ready, I couldn't work. So I could never work as a student, and I could never work legally, right? As after I got married, I had to wait till the documents are all sorted out. Because when I was a student, I had money. I was living out of my income that I had saved to come here and stud. So I little, but I had. And with all this staying here and getting married, forced me to fight for the custody, and I burned my money. So I was completely dependent on my husband.
Yes.
And no job. Put me in a very difficult situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I put myself in a very difficult situation. And then first thing I did, I was like, I need to do something, because he puts all this guilty on me, because I even had a mom, she sometimes I catch her telling him, but never stays at home, because one thing that was horrible that happened with us, it was with the pandemic. I first stepped up to keep all the kids, and I was still in school at that time. And I kept all the kids full time and studying, and I went crazy. And the mom couldn't handle the kids at home at the same time working online. It is hard, right? I can't imagine if you have to work in your computer and the kids over. Oh my goodness, it's hard. I couldn't study. I imagine work.
Yes.
And so we were like, oh, what should we do? Because with the whole issue, when they go to their mother, she's going to put them in a daycare. And how is that going to be when they come back? But we don't want to block the kids. But I cannot take all these responsibilities because I'm afraid of this virus. So that was so horrible. And I had, for my mental health sickness, I had to say no for that. And so the mother had to find daycare. And her solution was to put the kids at the next door neighbor, because that's the only one she could afford.
Right.
For me, it was like, no. There must be some better place, like you're not going to take the kids here next door. I felt terrible. It was hard for me to understand, because my husband pays for it, but they had an agreement on, that's what the custody agreement is. He gives her the alimony and the child support, and then extra for daycare because she works full time, right? Mm-hmm. So he's responsible when they are with her. He is responsible for daycare for them. Until I think it's $500, no more than that. So if anything is going to cost more, she has to be responsible for that.
Right.
And she changed her job at that time, and she didn't have any extra. So she need to find a place where she could only have that support from my husband, right? Nothing more expensive than she didn't have the money. Nobody in her family wanted to help her. And so the only solution she found was a neighbor. They used to be friends, and this neighbor had watches kids. It's not really a daycare. It's like she watches and they pay her for it. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if it's legal, but anyway. But they were used to having them there, and it's right next to our house, right next the house next to us. So she did that, and she put the kids there, and there they've been since I step out of it. I said, no, I'm not doing full time. I can't. And it's been very painful for my stepkids, because many times they come to me and said, why don't you get us? You're home.
Right.
My stepkids are home. But my stepbrother and sister, they're home. I see them playing on the street. I see you. And then they start to watch at the window and see, where did you go this afternoon? I saw you went running, like, why are you watching me? So I became this person who is super mean because I am doing my self-care and I'm not watching them. And for my husband, this was terrible. And she kind of guilt-tripped him about it. And I remember she saying, but she signed up for that, when she married you. And that was the first time my husband defended me. And I was like, oh, thank God. I said, no, she didn't sign up for that. You sign up for that when you wanted the 50-50 custody.
Right.
You need to be responsible for them during your time. And if you think putting them in the neighbor for saving you money, I understand you don't have it. I don't have it. He said, I don't want it. And Deborah cannot do it. She's overwhelmed. And it's going to be painful for the girls. And it is. It is painful for my stepkids. They don't really understand why they have to go through that, why they can't be in their house,
Right.
It's very hard. This was very hard on everybody.
Well, you're doing a great job and you've come a long way. And I have no doubt that you will continue to even get better.
Yeah. Learning a lot.
Yes. Well, Deborah, thank you so much for being a guest.
Oh, you're welcome.
We really appreciate it and keep in touch.
Yeah. I have to do because I signed up for the academy and I have to do my profile and everything. I haven't done anything. I've been listening and to the podcasts and learning a lot, but I haven't introduced myself or done anything. I'll have to do that.
Yeah, do that. And who knows, maybe we can get your husband on board and he can watch some of the courses and he can start nachoing.
Yeah, I hope so. That's my goal now.
Yeah.
Little by little, introducing it to him to see if he can let go of my bio kits.
Yes.
Disciplining them. This is not working. So.
Exactly. All right. Well, I will see you in the academy, girl.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed our interview with Deborah.
Thought you was going to sing for a second.
No.
Good.
Y'all know I can't sing. I've busted out a few times on here with something.
I know. It shocked me death, too.
Oh, Lord. All right, y'all. That's all for today.
That it?
Yeah.
You good? All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week for another exciting episode when we apparently will be interviewing another stepmom since stepdads won't get on here.
No offense, stepdads. We know you're listening.
Give us a call. We'll put you on. Tell your side of the story. We know it ain't all roses and sunshine dealing with these women. All right. Join us again next week. And remember, for Lloyd and myself, life is good
when you nacho.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast. Find us online at nachokids.com. Until next time, remember, life is good when you nacho.